Greetings. Welcome to this video in which I demonstrate how to do citations in APA. But before we go to that, we need to understand that there's a difference between quotations and citations. Quotations are the words from the source which you are quoting. I have shown in a different video how to do quotations. Citations, on the other hand, give additional information about the source which you are quoting. So information about who wrote it, when was it published, which page did you take your quotation from. All this information is what is contained in the citations. Quotations are done through three ways. One is by using the exact words of the source, which is the direct quote. The other is by paraphrasing the words of the source or by summarizing what the person has said. Citations, on the other hand, are determined by the style which you are using. So in this case, we are using APA, and we are specifically using APA 6th edition. There is a 7th edition, which is more recent, and we have not yet officially moved to 7th edition. In quotations, we give credit where it is due so as to give evidence and to support our arguments. In citations, we give proof of our supporting evidence. So in quotations, we are trying to support what we are saying in the essay, but in citations, we are trying to prove that what we are citing exists, so that people who may want to consult further from where we are reading may also look for that source and go to it. There are two types of citation. There's the in-text citation, which is done within the essay, and there's the reference list. In-text citations give details about the source of our information, and specifically the author of the publication we are quoting, the year, and sometimes we may also include the page, especially when we want to direct the reader to the exact location where we got the information from. It's important to remember that whether we quote, meaning whether we use the exact words as the original, whether we paraphrase or whether we summarize somebody else's work, we must give the citation. References are the citations that appear at the end of the paper. Each in-text citation which we made in the essay must have a matching reference in the reference list. And this is important because many students quote sources in the essay, and then when you go to the reference list, you can't find the source. So every in-text citation must have a matching reference in the reference list. Reference citations start on a fresh page from the rest of the essay that has the title heading references, and they must be in hanging paragraphs. If you'd like to know more about how to format hanging paragraphs, please see my video on formatting in Microsoft Word. What information is required for citation? We need the name of the author or authors, and we also need the title of the publication. We also need to know the type of publication, and this is extremely important because correctly identifying the type of publication helps you consult the APA handbook when you're not sure. Is the publication which you're citing a book? Is it a book which has different chapters written by different authors? Is it a journal article? Is it a newspaper article? Is it a song? Is it a film? And the list goes on. We can quote so many types of references, but we must be sure what exactly the type of publication is. The other information we need is the frequency of the publication. Does the publication appear only once? Is it a single book, for example, or a flyer which never appears again? Or is it a publication that appears frequently? meaning does it appear every day like a newspaper, monthly like a magazine, or yearly? The other information we need to know is the year of publication. When was this publication released? And the next information we need to know is the publisher. Is the item published by a publishing house for books and other printed materials, or is it by a studio for film and audio-visual material, or is it a newspaper, and so on. In this video, I'm going to give you examples of different items and how to cite them. I have just picked 5, which are the most common, which is an academic book, an academic journal article, a chapter from an edited academic book, a newspaper article online, and a YouTube video. And hopefully, from what you see, it will guide you in citing other materials. For the first item, an academic book, I have chosen this book, which is on our database, which is by Kendi Borona. Now, we first have to know the name and the title of the book, which are obvious, but we also need to know other publication information. So if you look here on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that the publisher is given. That's Cambridge Scholars Publisher. And you also need the print date, which is 2019. You do not need the exact date. Now, there's one piece of information missing, which is required for books, which is the town in which this book was published. So because we need to know more information, we have to go to the book online. What happens is that most of the publication information is within the first 5 pages of the book, even before you get to the actual text itself. So if we click here to go to the next page, we find that the full title is here, and the author, and this is the publisher, but we still need to know the town. So we need to go to the next page where they have the town, the information on the publisher. And what we do is that we look for the town where it was published, and here it is, Newcastle upon Tyne. So let's now go to the citation itself. Here I have quoted some exact words from the book, but as you can see, I have used my own words to introduce the quotation I am going to make. And the own words are here. Citing her own experience, Borona, 2019, says that the teaching of history in school, those are my words. But now I want to write exactly what she said. And so I put a quotation mark here and say, was done in a very superficial manner that did not inspire confidence or create a sense of pride in the struggle for Africa's liberation. Now, this is where the quote that I am interested in ends. So I put the closing quotation marks here. There is no space between N and the quotation marks, but the space comes after the quotation marks, after which I put a parenthesis, or what we commonly call a bracket, and then I type P, and there's no space between the parenthesis and P, and then I put a full stop. Again, there's no space between the parenthesis P and full stop. After the full stop, I put a space here, and then I type 66, which is the page where I got this quotation from, and then I follow it with a closing parenthesis and a full stop. There's no space between 66, parenthesis, and full stop. That's how you do an in-text citation. And you'll notice that I have separated the year from the page because I need to first talk about what she says before I go to the quote. Sometimes we have to combine both the year and the quotation, and you will see that in the next examples that I give. So this is now what we put in the reference list. We put Borona, which is her surname. We put a comma, space, and then we put K for Kendi, and then put a full stop there. And then we add the space. The space comes after the full stop. And then we put the year. And then now we put the title of the book, and you can see the whole title is italicized. This whole title must be in italics. Also note that the capital letter is only at the beginning here. I is small letter, K is small letter, S is small letter, and then I put a colon, which I explain how to type in the video on quotations. After the colon, you put a space, and then you type the second half of the title. And the second half of the title must start with a capital letter, then everything else must be start with small letters, except proper names, like Kenya. Because Kenya is a proper name of a country, it stays in capital letter. And then I put a full stop, a space, and then I give the name of the town where the publishing house is located. I follow it with a colon. Please note there's no space between E and colon. And then after the colon is where I put a space, and then I write the publishing house. You can pause the video and go back just to see and to be sure what I have done. The next quotation I am going to do is from an academic journal article. Just to explain, an academic journal has some basic elements. First is the title of the journal, which is up here, Critical African Studies. Normally, a journal has volumes, meaning, and this refers to the year when it was published, and then it has issues, which means, was it the first journal that year, or the second, or the third? And this is where I was saying we need to know the frequency. If the journal is published 3 times a year, it means it will have only 3 issues. If the journal is published once every 4 months, it will have only 3 issues. If the journal is published once every 3 months, it will have 4 issues. When we are citing academic journals, we need to know the title of the journal, the volume, meaning how many times has it been published yearly. So if you see volume 7 here, it means that the journal started in maybe 2008. So this is the 7th year that they are publishing, and that's why it's called volume. And then the issue is the number, the particular issue that was published for that year. And then we have, of course, the title of the article, and then we have here the name of the author. These days, journals give you the opportunity to download the citation direct, and this information is what you use when you're downloading to Zotero, and which I will cover in another video. So instead of struggling to find which is the author, the issue, the year, we can simply go to the download citation and find the information for ourselves. If we scroll down, you can see that the information is here. So this is the name of the author, the year, the title. This is the title of the article. This is the title of the journal itself. This is the volume. 7 is the volume. 3 is the issue. And these are the page numbers. And these days, there is now a direct link called the DOI, which gives you this information. This is the information that needs to appear in your reference list. So let's go to now the citation in my essay. Here is my in-text citation. In this case, I have not directly quoted the words that are used by Dr. Chome himself. I am summarizing what he has said, which is specific to the point I want to make. And you see that the specific section I am quoting is on page 309. So this whole sentence is mine, that is paraphrasing what he has said on page 309, so that anyone who wants to see whether the point I have quoted him correctly, or anyone who wants to hear more about this point he has made, will just open the article and go to page 309. So these are my words. There is no direct quote here. And then you can see at the end of the sentence, after S, I do not put a full stop, even if it's the end of my sentence. I put a space, and then I put the parenthesis, and then C for his name, and comma. From this parenthesis up to the comma, there is no space. Then I add the space after the comma. I put the year of publication, comma, space. Then P, full stop, space. Then 309, which is the page number. And then I close the parenthesis and put the full stop after. This is important. The full stop at the end of the sentence, which has a citation, comes after the citation and not here. Now we go to the reference list. This is how it will appear in the reference list, and you can see that this appears slightly different from what we saw in the journal. Of course, I start with the name. And remember that the comma follows immediately after the word. There is no space. The space comes after the comma, after the full stop. And then you have the year, then full stop, then space. And then you'll notice here that I have put quotation marks for this phrase. And the reason we have done this is because it exists like this in the title itself. If we go back to the original title, we can see that he has put a quotation here. And the reason he has done this is because these are not his words. He has gotten them from somebody else. And so that's why he puts them in quotation marks. But he's questioning whether devolution is only for development, and that's why he has put a full stop. So if we go back to our reference list, we are going to put this in double quotation marks and still keep the full stop, and then we start the second part of the title from here. Again, notice that the second part of the title starts with a capital D, and all the other words start with small letters until we come to Kenyan, because Kenya refers to a place. So that's why we keep the capital K. Then you can see critical African studies all starts with capital letters because it is the title of the journal. And then we put a comma after studies, space, and then put 7. Please note that from critical up to 7, this is in italics. So 7 must be in italics, which is the volume number of the journal. But then we put the issue number, which is 3, in parentheses. And this 3 is not italicized. Please look very carefully, because sometimes, unless you're really paying attention, you can't notice. But for a seasoned reader, they can notice that this one is slanting slightly because it's in italics, and the 3 is not. So you put critical African studies, comma, space, 7, which is the volume number, 3 is the issue number, comma, space, and then you put the page numbers. And then after that, you put the DOI. Now we go to the next type of publication. The next type of publication is an academic book which has several chapters that are written by different people. Now, imagine that we are quoting just one chapter in this book. You have to indicate in your references that the article what you're quoting is a specific chapter by a specific author other than this person, Kimani Njogu, who, when he's listed here, he is the editor rather than the author of the book. But how do we know? We have to read the book online. So this is the book, and the title is there, and you can see here it is written edited, meaning that he's the one who collected the articles and put them together and edited them into the book. Now, this is the title of the book, but we want to quote a specific chapter. Now, let's imagine, so that's the full title of the book, that's the name of the author, and this is the publisher. Now, let's imagine that we are not interested in all the chapters of this book. We are interested in a particular one. And for the purpose of this video, I have picked a specific chapter by 2 authors. And this is Integrating Tourism with Rural Development Strategies in Western Kenya. And you can see that it has 2 authors. Remember, I said you have to know the page numbers. So in this case, you can see it is 160, but you also need to know on which page it ends. You cannot assume that it is 174 because 174 is where this one starts. So the page number will probably be 173, but sometimes there are blank pages between chapters. So it's important to confirm where this chapter ends. So let's go to page 173, check if that's where the chapter ends. So you put 173 up here and press enter, and the book will take you to page 173. Yes, that's where it ends. So before we go back to our citation, how do we quote this particular article? Let's go back to the contents, and you can use this menu on your left to go back to the contents page. What we are going to do, the chapter is listed on the second page of the contents, so it is here. What we are going to do is note the author, George Otieno Obonyo and Eric Victor Onyango Fwaya. And then this is the title of the article, and we've already noted the page numbers. But we need to explain where this particular article is found, and it is found in this book. So we have to put the whole title of the full book as well, and we put the name of the editor, and then we will put the publication details, which is usually found around page 4 here. So it's published by Twaweza Communications in Nairobi, and then we will put the page numbers. Let me show you how it looks. This is the in-text citation. I have put the names, Obonyo and Fwaya, and notice that the word "and" is in full. It's spelled out in full. And then I've put the year, and then I've just summarized what they are saying. And that is why I have not added a page number. And this is the reference citation. We start as usual with the surnames and initials of the preceding names and putting the full stops as appropriate. Note that this name is followed by a comma. And then after the space, you put an ampersand. In the in-text citation, we write this in full as A and D, but in the reference citation, we put the sign. And then we put Fwaya, followed by a comma and his initials, and then the year of publication. Following the year of publication, we have the title of the chapter. And as usual, we keep all words except the ones at the beginning or the proper nouns starting with small letters. When you've written the chapter title and put a full stop and a space, you follow it with the word "in" with a capital I. After the word "in", you follow it with the initial of the first name of the editor which is Kimani, so it is K, and then the surname, followed by a space and this word ED with a full stop to indicate an abbreviation because the full word is editor. If you have more than one editor, this ED will be followed by S before you put the full stop. And then you close with the parentheses and add a comma. And then you have the title of the book itself in italics. When you finish that, you do not put a punctuation, you go straight to the page numbers. So you open the brackets, put PP, full stop, space, and then the page numbers that way. Note that we have PP instead of P, like we have been seeing in the in-text. And we do this when you have more than one page. So even in your in-text citation, if you're citing more than one page, you will put PP. And then after you put the page numbers and the full stop and space, you put the town of publication, and then you put the publishing house. Now let's go to a newspaper article. Newspaper articles are very useful for getting current news and current data that might not yet have entered academic journals because of how long it takes for journals to appear. So newspapers are a useful source for reading current events. This is the information that we are looking for. We are looking for the author. The author is here, Victor Rabala. And then we have the title of the article here, Ministry to Upgrade Select Schools for Junior High. We need the date because remember, the newspaper appears every day. So you have to put the date, you can't just put the year. So you have June 24, 2021. The title of the newspaper is Nation or Daily Nation. And then you have the URL. You need to give the URL up here, which is the website address. We are going to copy paste. So now let's go to the citation. This is the in-text citation. In this case, the reason I am quoting this article is just to give some information about a new development in the education system. So you can see this is my sentence that the ministry announced this. And then at the end, I put the author's name, a comma, and then I put the year. When it comes to the reference list, I'll put more details. You can see that I put his full name, his name with his first name as an initial, and then I follow by the date. And the date must follow this order. It must start with the year, and then the month, and then the date. Remember, this is American Psychological Association, so we are following the American format for putting the date. And then I put the title of the article. This is Ministry up to here, Junior High, followed by a full stop, then space. Then I put the name of the newspaper. And I put it in quotation, in italics, followed by a full stop. And then I follow that with the words retrieved from. This must be there if you're using an online newspaper. You say retrieved from, and then you put the URL or the website exactly as it is here. Okay, now let's go to the next publication, which is a YouTube video. This is the YouTube video that I would like to quote. Remember, we look for the author, the date of publication, because YouTube publishes all the time, so we need the date, and then the title of the video so that we can put it in our reference list. Now, with YouTube videos, the author is this one. The author is the owner of the YouTube account. So the author here is Daystar University Live. And you do this even for videos that have strange names. You have to credit the author to the account that you have. And then the title of the article is this one, down here. This is the title of the article. And then the date is listed here, streamed live on this date. So that's how you know what the date of the publication is. And of course, it's a YouTube video. So let's go to the citations. This is my in-text citation for the YouTube video. So because I have not quoted anything, you don't see any quotation marks. So I just give a summary of what he said. Ayiro reiterated his call for the use of mixed methods in Kenyan research. And then I put the name of the publisher and the year. But when it comes to the reference list, this is how it will look. All right, so you put the author, which is Daystar University Live, then you put the date like we did for the newspaper, and then you put the title of the video in italics, followed by space, and then you put in square brackets, video file, and then close with a square bracket and put a full stop. And then you put a space, then you say retrieved from, and you get the link to the video and post it there. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please remember that this video is about the 6th edition of the APA style. And so it will differ slightly from more recent videos on YouTube, which you will find about APA style. If you need any more information, like about how to do quotations, how to format your paper, please see the links below this video. Thank you very much.